Hey guys, this is Helena, and I'm here with my very, very good friend and fellow coach, Chelsea Rose. Welcome, Chelsea.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
I can see everyone in the chat saying hi. We're so excited to have you guys here. And this is going to be a little different. After the last live stream Chelsea and I did together, it must have been at least a couple months ago. We got so many requests to bring Chelsea back on and have her share her story. Our last live stream was about how to reprogram your subconscious mind and alleviate anxiety and attract your desires, even during this time that we're going through right now in the world. We're recording this in 2020. For those of you watching the replay of this, this is going to be up forever, probably, right? We were talking about how to attract your desires in business and in love, and we got so many requests to bring Chelsea on again and talk about her story of manifesting her amazing husband and how that all happened. Because I know it's a little different from most of the women in my community, myself included, have really struggled in that area. And something that I've just known about you, just being friends over the past couple years, is just you kind of knew that love was meant for you, right? And I'll let you share your story because it's such a good one. I love the way you tell it. We're also going to share 5 secrets to call in or manifest or attract the man you want, whether he's in your life right now or not. So, Chelsea, let's just jump right in while we're waiting for some people to join. There's already over 50 people watching in the first minute.
Yay!
So this is great. We're so excited to connect with all of you guys. Let us know your questions too, and we'll get to as many of those as we can at the end. Oh, and I do want to mention Chelsea is opening up a little time in her schedule for free discovery calls. If you're looking, I know you're doing love coaching now too, not just business coaching, which is so awesome.
Excited.
So awesome. So if you're a female entrepreneur looking to, increase your income, attract ideal clients, Chelsea is totally your person. You'll want to book a call. But also if you have questions about your love life, if any of this resonates with you, Chelsea is doing that kind of work with women as well. So I'm so excited. Let's get right into it. What's the first thing you want to say about your story of meeting your husband and how everything happened?
Well, I'm so excited to be here, you guys. This is a long story, and I was just telling Helena, I'm going to try to make it as concise as possible. Basically, after my sophomore year of college, I felt called to go to France, specifically the south of France. And I went with a girlfriend at the time, and that was definitely an intuitive pull that I had for a long time. And so I was just following my intuition, and I found a way to stay there in a way that was really cheap for like a college student's budget at the time. And that was staying on this organic farm. That was like a little hippie phase of mine. And working for this organic farm and staying there in exchange, like I would work and then get room and board. And so this was literally the middle of nowhere. And my husband is French, and he was from Paris, and he got this intuitive hit around the same time as me, like that he wanted to move to the south of France. He had a cousin that was living there. And so we met in this little village that he had just moved to 6 months prior. And he was working for the same guy that I was working for. And so that's how we met. And I was only 20 at the time, but I definitely felt like I recognized him the moment I saw him. And I just was like speechless because I had never had that experience before where I felt so drawn to someone that was a complete stranger. And so that was my first clue that something was happening. And then I stayed there, and I just had the best time. Like that is really a highlight of my life, that trip. And so I was there just to have fun and like follow the calling I was feeling to be there. And I had said to my friend, like, I want to manifest, like some romantic long distance, like love. And I didn't know that I was going to manifest my husband when I said that. But the moment I met him, we felt super drawn to right. And so the moment I met him, we felt super drawn to each other. We immediately bonded as friends, and he showed me all around the whole time I was there. And then I only stayed there for about 2.5 to 3 weeks, but leaving was so painful because I'd had such a good time. I didn't realize that I had really fallen in love with him in that time. So we quickly went from friendship to like a romantic encounter. But I had to leave and go back to school and finish school. So long story short, I didn't see him for 2 years. And in that village where we met, this was 2012, they didn't have Wi-Fi yet.
Oh
So
my gosh.
we had like an email relationship where, and his English was so minuscule compared to how good he is at it now. But so it would take him like 4 hours to write an email for me to send to me. And he would have to go up this mountain to the one person's house that had really fast internet to send me this email. It was super romantic, but also really difficult to maintain a relationship. And so eventually I had to kind of move on and let him go because it just wasn't lining up to actually be together at that time. And so it was easy for me to just like out of sight, out of mind, forget about the feelings I had for him because it was too painful. And so I went on to date other people. Like I needed to grow up a little bit. Being a 20-year-old, having he's 9 years older than me, by the way. And so, but I always knew I would see him again. I always held him in my mind as like family. And 2 years later, I let him know. So we stayed in touch, but eventually it kind of had to fizzle out because we couldn't see each other. And lots of little details I'll skip over. But essentially, I let him know, hey, I'm going to be coming back to France with another friend. I'd love to just see you, you know? And the night before I saw him, I remember feeling flooded with all these emotions, remembering how much I loved him and like how intense the connection was. And I knew something was going to happen. So the moment I saw him that next day, we met up in Paris because we were going to stay at his mom's house together. And the moment I saw him, I just lit up and he hugged me and he like put his hand on my head for some reason. We still joke about this. He's like, I never do that. Like, I don't know what I was doing, but he kind of cradled my head when we hugged and I just melted and I was like, this is my husband. And I knew it and I'm getting chills. And so, we've been together ever since that day. So that's our crazy story. And then we were married 9 months later and I stole him from France and we've been living in San Diego for several years now and just celebrated our 5-year wedding anniversary in March.
Yay!
So that's my condensed version of that story.
I love that. I'm like smiling from ear to ear over here. I love that. I have so many questions for you, but what we're going to be talking about today are the 5 secrets. And there's so many questions as you were talking. I was looking over in the chat. So many questions.
Oh, cool.
Help me manifest the man for me. Love it. We're going to do exactly that in this call. So we'll get to your questions too at the end. Any questions you guys have, let us know. We're going to do the 5 secrets. So explain these 5 secrets for everyone before we jump into them.
Okay, cool. So like do an overview of them?
Yeah, like well, just for you personally, since you just shared your story, is this something you consciously did between the first time you met him and that second time you met up? Or is this something you did during the 9 months between when you saw him again and when you got married? Like, how did this all work for you?
I've had a lot of time to try to unpack how it happened because it was surprising to me. You know, I didn't understand the law of attraction. Really, I hadn't studied it when this all went down. That was later in life for me. And so, but I did think about like, what were some of the major things I think contributed to, first of all, meeting him, but then second of all, being able to have our relationship get really expedited once we were able to be together. And so, yeah, I'd love to dive in. So the first one is I did, like I said, you know, I was in this innocent space of being unattached, but also just expecting that I got to have a romantic love affair. It's what I wanted. And I wasn't thinking about all the reasons why it can't happen, you know, and I know I was young. I know I saw comments like, it's so much easier when you're in your 20s, but you can have this now. It's all mindset and energy. I promise you guys. But the first one is really about know that you're meant to have it. So I identified as like a helpless romantic at that time in my life when I met him. And I was taught that that was a bad thing, but now I realize that that was so serving me in finding him. And so if you have that desire for this epic romance, I want you to know that that's because it's meant for you. So build up your faith around that. Like let yourself dream big and let yourself accept that as a part of your identity. I'm going kind of off of what I had planned to say, but that's the first one. Yeah, I have more.
That's amazing. Okay. And Okay, yeah, this for some reason the screen keeps freezing and then speeding up, and I'm really hoping that's just on my end, but I'm loving all this. Everyone's loving your story. Don't think of all the reasons it can't happen. So true. I love what you said about your identity. It's so interesting because just before I met my partner, who I've done a few videos with now too, I remember thinking like, gosh, my whole identity is just the girl where I'm kind of stuck in place and everyone else's life moves forward. As you guys know, I had been dealing with some depression and injuries, and I just felt like it would really I had to let go of this identity of the perpetually single, don't need anyone, self-sufficient kind of person. And then I thought, oh my gosh, in order to really meet someone and build a relationship, I'm gonna have to really start from scratch. And I had to contend with all these fears. I had all these subconscious fears that I didn't even know were there, but I had to really look at that. If I were to meet the love of my life, what is it I'd have, what kind of identity would I have to give up?
Yeah.
And it was things that really weren't serving me, identities I didn't even want to hold on to. But I love that you said that having the love story of your dreams be a part of your identity, not something that's out there outside of yourself that feels kind of ambiguous and hard to attain or achieve, right?
Yes, I love that. Yeah. If you have the desire, just own it as okay, this is a part of who I am. I think our desires are placed inside of us as a roadmap because there are a million things we can create. There are a million directions we can go. Your desires are okay, these are the things I'm meant to have. So that's number one, a big, and I know all of these are much easier said than done. So that's why I'm offering these free discovery calls. I know it can take deep work to get to this, but just for the sake of time, we're going to try to go a little bit faster through. I'll try to go fast through them. So that's the first one is believe you can have it, know you can have it. And the second one is invoke the power of your decision. So kind of dovetailing off of that, I'm a romantic and I want a big love. This next step is declare it, expect this to be a part of your future. And so before I met him, I said out loud, to my friend who we were traveling together, I was I'm going to have this pen pal relationship, and I want this epic romance. And then that's what I had. And then I had no idea that, we were going to be reunited in this way, in the way it happened. But before I went on that second trip, I told my other friend who I was traveling with, I want the next person I date to be the person I marry. And
Wow.
I said it as an absolute, I just said it. And it was just clear. And again, I know if you have a lot of baggage and wounding around this topic, it's not as easy to be in that neutral place of deciding, but that's literally how we create our lives consciously, is we decide. And you don't put a bunch of stress and you don't put attachment on it or timeline on it, but that's how powerful of a creator you are, is you can literally decide what you want and speak it out loud with certainty, and life responds to that. And so after I said that, it was a couple weeks later, I was with him and we've been together ever since. So
yeah, same
mind-blowing.
thing. Yeah. I mean, literally, you always get what you expect, right? But we might have a different idea if people watching of what expectations are. But, I think of expectation as your desire merged with your belief of what's possible for you or how much you deserve it, right? I mean, you can even see in some of the comments, people say, well, this is hard because of the age I am or the time we're living in, where I have countless women in my community and clients who are in their 60s, 70s and beyond, meeting phenomenal men right now. It's just the story you're telling yourself, right? The story you're telling yourself. So that's what I said. I met Tom online. I said, I'm gonna meet someone really great. I'm gonna dip in and dip out of this, and it's not gonna take forever. I'm gonna meet some quality guys. This is gonna be the fastest, easiest, most delicious unfolding of my entire life. And that's exactly what happened. I joined. I waited for the impulse. Yeah, I don't think I've told you this yet. No. Waited for the impulse, joined, started talking with him 24 hours later, met in person 11 days after that. We've been together ever since, right? And that was exactly the story I was telling myself. And I waited until I believed that with every fiber in my being before taking that action. I don't want to get ahead. I know that might be jumping ahead of the secrets, but totally. It's the story you're telling.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've just seen it countless times. If you say there's no good men out there, online dating is terrible. There's a bunch of creepy guys and losers out there. What story are you telling? I'd love to hear from everyone watching too in the live chat or down below. What story have you been telling yourself? And what story would you like to be telling? And where can we, and this is kind of where we can help you, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. It can be so much faster, so much easier than you've ever thought possible. So what's the next thing you have for us, Chelsea?
Perfect. The next one is really it's also a mindset piece, and that's shifting your perception of men. So this is also about what stories you're telling, but we don't even realize we're doing this. So once this can apply to attracting your person, but also how you relate to them once you've met them. Because I had never met a guy like my husband, and he was so beyond, like, I had so many limiting beliefs about men, and I had a lot of negative experiences with men before I met him. And even during that 2-year period, it always felt like I had to do most of the work. It always felt like I was reaching for people. So I wasn't familiar with what it felt like to be met with like a high quality masculine energy man. And so if I didn't consciously look at, okay, what am I projecting onto him right now? Like, what am I expecting him to show up as that isn't necessarily who he really is? These are ways in which we can put blinders on to the amazing men that are out there. Like an example of this is like, all men are blank. Like, what is that story you guys think about men, that like the negative stories? Like, I recently heard someone say all men are liars. Like, that's her. She knows it's not true logically, but deep down, like, that's what she thinks. So that's her constant experience of men. And so you could attract someone who's not that way, but be projecting that onto them. And so you're not allowing them to show up as who they really are. So this is a big piece, is like, do your work, do your work on clearing the way you see men, and look for evidence for the type of man that you want. Like, look for that. And this is a big one, you guys. If you're surrounded by people in your life who are unhappy with their men, or who are in like a drama pattern with men and love, no judgment, but like, notice that, and notice how being constantly immersed in people's pain around this topic is affecting your ability to stay in a neutral, positive expectation place.
Gosh, that's so true. So true. Yes. Loving all these comments. Yes. You have to believe that the good guys exist. You have to believe that your perfect counterpart exists. I mean, it's my belief that he can't show up unless you believe he exists, because you don't have that, framework in your brain yet. So yeah, so important. Loving all these comments. Oh my gosh. For the 130 people watching live, give this video a like. Let us know what you think. I'm getting distracted by all these comments. I love
it. No, it's
so much fun.
Happy.
Yeah, this is so great. So yeah, I'm loving all this. I have so much I can add to this. I feel like we could do a whole video on each one of these secrets. So if you guys have requests for more videos about any one of these, I know it's kind of easier said than done, at least at first. But once you try it and start to get some really amazing fast results, it'll start to become more natural. So yeah, what's the next one, Chelsea? Unless there's anything you wanted to add with that one.
No, I think we covered it. And yeah, I love that idea of elaborating on each of these at another time. That's a great idea if you guys are into that. So the next one is something that you touched on in your story, which is follow your impulses. So I really feel like, our heart's desires is one thing, like following what it is that you desire. So I felt really called. I wanted to go to France, and my aunt actually has a similar love story where she fell in love with a guy from Belgium, and they've been married for a long time, and so that seed was planted. Like, maybe I can have like a romantic, relationship with a foreigner. Maybe I'll marry someone not from here. So there's that like seed planted, and that was kind of a desire of mine. And so of course, like, the logical thing is if I also feel like traveling, it's like, just travel, you know what I mean? Like, but obviously right now we can't freely travel, but once these things have changed, have transitioned, but following your impulses, like, follow where you feel called to go, follow what you feel called to do after you've cleared the mindset stuff we're talking about, then your life is always guiding you towards what you want. So I really feel like life, or God or the universe, whatever you relate to, communicates to us through our impulses, and not just like random, not coming from fear, but coming from a place of inspiration.
So true. And everything just like slowed down for a second. Hopefully that's just on my end, but I love that. Following your impulse is so important. If you got, I just did a community post. You guys can go check the community tab where I was healing myself, working on myself, working with my own counselor, and then woke up one morning with the strongest impulse to join this online dating app. Like nothing could have stopped me from doing it. This is something I've been putting off for a year at least, probably over a year, because I wanted to work on myself and heal some things. I wasn't ready to meet anyone. I didn't want to, I didn't want to jump into a relationship. I just wasn't ready, So I waited I worked on healing myself. Worked with this therapist. Amazing. If you guys have questions about that, let me know. I can include information on exactly what I did and who I worked with. But one morning, like nothing could have stopped me. I just and then we started talking 24 hours later, and come to find out he had just joined a few weeks before. So if I had tried to force myself to do it 6 months prior, 8 months prior, I, maybe would have met somebody else and, wouldn't be available for this great relationship I'm in now. So love that about following your inspired impulses, not forcing yourself to do something, following some lukewarm path because you think you should do it, right?
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, it's like waiting for that path to be red hot and then sprinting down it. It's like when the time's right, nothing can stop you. Like believing in yourself, trusting your intuition on that level, right?
Oh my God, I love everything you just said. Absolutely. And one thing that I love about my story is that my husband is not necessarily immersed in this work like I am. We're different in that way, but it's so cool to hear him say, I don't know why, I just knew I needed to move there. Like the divine timing of the way this happened, And so that kind of leads into the number 5 is trust, trusting in the divine timing of your life and of this epic love story you get to have too. And everything you've done up until this point will help you have that, right? And will make this part easier, because I know this is easier said than done. But also trusting in his leadership. And what I mean by that is again, clearing the ways in which you perceive men to always show up based on maybe men disappointing you in the past. Mm-hmm. But what he showed me was a committed man who's all in will literally do anything for you. So he left his country. When I met him, he was building up a business that over the next 2 years became successful, was a full-time successful business. His whole life was set up there. He had an amazing community of friends. He has a huge family he loves. And he left all of that for me. And I'm not saying it has to involve massive sacrifice like that, but I was like, whoa, and for those of us who are controllers or who easily emasculate men, it's powerful to remember that they don't need our help in that way. They've got it. And you never need to be in a space where you're wondering, is this guy committed or not?
So true. Yeah.
Just is not, again, that's you bringing baggage from past relationships of guys that are not your match, that are not at your level. Mm-hmm. Because in this paradigm of the guy that you really want, it won't ever be a doubt in your mind.
So true. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm so glad that was your experience too. I think we've talked about this before. I think we were having a conversation the other day, and I was telling you how with my guy now, it's I've never once felt anxious, never once, literally never wondered where I stood with him, never was oh, I just texted him 2 times in a row and I had maybe that was too much. There was never that kind of anxious dynamic, never took up 1 second of my time or any space in my head. Right. And so with the right guy, because I hear so many questions every day from women, and it's I always want to say, with the right guy, none of this stuff's going to be an issue, but we can tend to hold on to the wrong guy because we're afraid maybe there's nothing else out there, or maybe, there aren't any good men left, all those limiting stories that we have.
Yes.
So we hold on to these men who are just not quite doing the job. And I think the more we do that, the more we get comfortable with that. Not only are you sending a signal to that man that I'm okay just taking crumbs, right? You're also kind of sending that signal to the universe. This is what I'm available for. It's just, it gets so much in your energy and in your vibe. So I'm a huge proponent of letting the wrong ones go in order to make yourself available for the right one, where a lot of these things just will never be an issue. He'll just be thrilled to be with you and he'll move things forward, and you can just lean back and be open and respond and enjoy the ride, right?
100%.
That's what I want for everybody.
Me too. And if you haven't experienced this before, it can be hard to imagine. So that's why I love giving this piece of homework to my clients is look for evidence for that type of man existing. So if it means you like scour the internet for people telling their stories like this video right now. So you being here, you're already doing that homework because we're both sharing our stories. And so you're building data, or your mind is gathering data for like, oh, there are men like this. And then once you believe it's possible, now you're available for it much more so than if you're like, no, men don't show up this way. So again, like just be willing to let go of everything you've ever, all the negative stuff you've ever experienced with men before. And like every single moment is an opportunity to hit the refresh button. You know what I mean? And start over and have a completely new experience of men. Of love.
So true. Yeah. So true. I mean, we can, something I say all the, I feel like, oh my gosh, I just want to do a video of this like every week with you. And I feel like everyone's vibe is shifting just listening to the first 25 minutes. Like that makes me so happy. If we can make you guys feel better and a little more hopeful toward like we've done our jobs like that, I'm thrilled. I would spend all my time doing that for you guys. Cause like it just makes me feel so good. So yeah, we can choose to recreate what's happened in the past over and over by talking about it, thinking about it, complaining about it, commenting on YouTube about how all the men out there are terrible. Or you can just create more of the same, or you can talk about something new, or open yourself up to the possibility of something new in order to attract it. It's so amazing how fast this works once you kind of like shift the story you're telling. So yeah, I would love to talk some more about that. What else? I'm just like loving everything you're saying. Sparking all these ideas. What else did you want to share on this?
So that was all 5. I guess if there's any questions we could answer.
Yeah, I would actually love, you just read my mind. I'd love for you to recap the 5 while I scroll up to the top and look for questions. Cool. Is that okay?
That sounds great. I love that. So number 1, my first secret is know that you're meant to have it. That the desire alone is evidence that, and you get to choose to see it this way. It's a choice to receive this or not. But the desire alone is evidence that it's meant for you. So trust in your desire for epic love. Okay. That's number 1. I love these so much. Okay. So I just like it. So it means so much to me. So number 2, invoke the power of your decision. So recognize, like, again, what happened for Helena and I, we decided that we wanted it. We did all of the work to clear whatever was standing in the way of that. But eventually we both were like, okay, I'm ready. It's happening. And this was done not from a forcing place, not from a lack of trust place, not from a fear place, but from a total space of neutral, positive, unattached like expectation.
Yeah.
So that's the second one is invoke the power of your decision and declare it. So that's like to yourself or out loud is also really powerful. And then the third one is about shifting your perception of men. So clearing all the negative stories that you're telling about men and creating one that is actually equivalent to the experience you want to have with men. So men are trustworthy, men are committed, men are loving, men are generous. Examples, right? Those are all examples. And the fourth one is follow your impulses. So follow, when it comes to business coaching, I say inspired action, like take inspired action. So yeah, that sounds a little more businessy than love, but it's the same thing. So follow your intuition, follow your heart. One thing I didn't add to that one is like, live your best life now. Like do all the things you want to do that make you happy now. Like don't wait for the man to be enjoying your life, because I know for me, I feel like for you too, like I was just living my best life. I'm like, yeah, I'm in France. So like, I'm going to go to Europe and la, 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 la. And there he was, you know? So following your heart, living your best life now. And then the last one is trusting in his leadership, trusting in like if he's committed, you will know. There will be no doubt about it.
It'll be painfully obvious.
You will never question it. Like you will never need to.
So true. So true. I love how you mentioned about waiting. That actually like jumped. Thanks for recapping that, by the way. Yeah. Amazing. Love these so much. I think we should do a whole like written piece on them. I don't know why this isn't working for me. It's not, I'm trying to pop these questions up and
I
it's
see
just
one.
not.
I see.
Okay, I went all the way to the top. I have this one from Lisa. She's saying, there it is. If there's just
Yeah.
a little bit of a delay. If
Okay.
it's taking me longer to respond, I think there's like a 5 or 10-second delay, and it's
No worries.
super distracting. It might just be the internet connection. But okay, trying to know how long to wait after being breadcrumb. Chelsea was just talking about this. In my book, it's like, you don't wait. You don't wait for a guy who's breadcrumbing you. I'm hoping you're not talking about waiting for him. Definitely don't wait for him. You're moving forward with your life. If this guy, or just trusting that the right guy is going to want to jump on that path with you, you don't have to follow him down some rabbit hole or sit there and wait for him to jump on your path. You're moving forward. The right guy's going to jump on that path, whether it be this one or someone else, right? Waiting causes a man to lose attraction, lose respect. Every second you spend waiting for him, that desire is decreasing. So, right? You want to that's my opinion, Chelsea. Any thoughts on this one?
I think that going back to the secret number 5, like, you trust me, when you attract the type of man that you want, like, there will be yeah, it's hard to find the words. It's like such a constant, powerful, focusing out energy on you. And not in a needy way, but like just someone who has your back, right? So that energy of devotion, consistency. So if you don't feel that, you get to let that person go. That's what I have to say about that.
Yeah. So totally agree. Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you, Annie. Love that. So happy. Yeah. If for anyone looking for more advice, either their love life or their professional life, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? Click the first link in the description, get a free discovery call with Chelsea. Oh my gosh. Like, so amazing. I'm so happy to be able to offer that to you guys. Yeah. Okay. Here's one from Alexandria. My boyfriend tells me he wants to marry me all the time. I want him to propose before I move in. Please help me. Great question. I would say just quickly, like it's you don't want to tell him what to do, but you can have total control over your boundaries. Like, I'm so excited for that. It would feel incredible to live with you. And, I'd really feel more comfortable doing that once we're engaged, or once we have the date set for the wedding, right? So you can express what would feel good to you. That's my brief overview. Chelsea, what do you have to say on that one?
Same, they want to know what our desires are, right? All they want to do, again, like this masculine energy, healthy, committed man that we're all wanting, they want to make you happy. And so they're not mind readers. Maybe we are sometimes, but they're not. So I think that women can be really afraid of saying what it is that they want, because we've been taught that pushes a man away, but it pushes the wrong man away. You know, like, you get to have desires, you get to have boundaries, and you can say it in ways that are super warm and loving. And also, what I'm getting for you intuitively is to be patient, because I feel like it's happening. There's a level of like letting go of the timing.
Chelsea's also like insanely intuitive too. So that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, if you have a chance to do coaching or even just do a discovery call with her, I would jump on that. Like, she helps me all the time. It's so good. Yeah. Here's one from Allison. I'm hanging out with my long-term boyfriend again after 2 years of being broken up. How do you not get discouraged when you feel so far away from marriage ever happening? So much has happened. Any thoughts there, Chelsea? How to keep yourself from getting discouraged?
So, again, I feel like checking in and seeing, are we on the same page, especially if you have history, and this is like the second time around. I feel like another thing that, again, I don't know all the information about what you're going through, but I think something that women are afraid to do is just have those clear conversations, like, what are you desiring? You can ask them, like, what's the best case scenario of this relationship for you? Because if they don't want what you want, like, that's another conversation, But if you know that this is what he wants too, then I would give you very similar feedback to what we just said for the last question. What do you think, Helena?
I love that. Yeah. I mean, you can't create in someone else's reality, but you have total control over your desires and how quickly or slowly they happen to you, but, in general, based on the story you're telling. So yeah, I would, maybe, I don't know the details of your situation, so it's kind of difficult, but you focus on the feelings you want to feel in your dream relationship, not like, how do I make it happen with this one guy if it's not happening? I think sometimes when we think about what we want, we think about our desire, we activate all the things that are in the way of it. Like, I want this great relationship. I want my happily ever after. Here's all the things that are in the way. Like she says, so much has happened. Make sure you're not activating what's in the way of it. So you might want to go
Yes.
more general. If you have questions about that, we can talk about that. Yeah. Yay. Hey, Jonathan Astley's watching. I saw him a couple days ago. So good to see you here. I'm just reading these for the first time when I pop them on the screen. Do you do any coaching for neurodiverse single women? I think I know somebody that could actually, if you want to email me, helenahartcoaching@gmail.com. I know everyone was also asking what therapist I use. Email me and I'd be happy to tell you all about that. helenahartcoaching@gmail.com. Unless Chelsea, if you can always book a call with Chelsea too.
Yeah. I would love to connect and see how I could support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no pressure. It's just to explore if we connect and if we are a match for working together.
Yeah. Love that. Oh, great advice. I love how everyone helped. These are from the last 2 questions we just answered. I totally agree. Don't be afraid. Describe what you want. Don't demand it. Describe it. See if he acts to bring it for both of you. Love that. Okay. I feel like you guys are all coaches now. If you've seen like so many of these live streams, people just like say exactly what I would say in the chat. I love that. Okay. Let's see. Just scrolling down. Acceptance has so many benefits. Love it. Awesome. Okay. Beth says, wow, that's my story. The instant I met my guy, it felt like we already knew each other. We didn't talk constantly right away. Then he asked for space a month ago. I want him now. I love it.
Oh, totally.
I want him right now, right? And this is such a common thing I hear, urgency and wanting to control the timeline. First of all, I can totally relate to that. I was like, I'm still the most impatient person I know, and I just learned how to deal with. That's why I talk about it so much. It's like something that I need help with myself sometimes. So any ideas for somebody where they want something to happen on a certain timeline and they're starting to feel urgent, Chelsea?
Yeah. I mean, again, going back to the number 5 of the secrets, it's recognizing that if he's your guy, well, number 1, everything we're talking about around expressing what you desire, because again, they can't read our minds, but also trusting him, like if he's your guy, you get to trust him. And ultimately, if he's really committed to you and available for what you want, then, and he says, I need some space, you get to trust that. Right. And I hope that made sense.
Yeah. I have a lot of videos on patience and trusting the process, and probably the last live stream we did would maybe be helpful. I can include a link to that. Once we're over. Okay, here's one from Stacy. How to keep the romance building from finding a guy online dating, keep it going despite not being able to physically meet due to quarantine. I'm high risk. One specific guy I like. I did a live stream with my friend Mike Goldstein, who you also know, Chelsea, on like questions you can ask, even if you're apart right now, even if you're separated because of everything that's going on. That might be helpful. I think it was like 20 questions that make a man crave connecting with you, or get like how to build a connection and intimacy, even if you're not physically together right now. If you guys have questions, I can include that one. Any thoughts here, Chelsea?
Yeah, I think there's a theme going on of, like that urgency and that longing and that yearning for the men, right? And that is so understandable. But again, I think the edge for so many of us and so many of these questions is around trusting and knowing that this guy, of course, there's things you can do to support the progression and be in that magnetic space, that open, loving, warm connection space, that feminine stuff. But ultimately, like, he is so capable of keeping it going, and if he doesn't want to, you get to trust that there are so many other amazing men and that there is someone else way better for you. If it's ever feeling hard, right? Like you are having to push it forward, I would take a step back and review, these tips today in this live stream. I get how hard that is, though. I didn't even
think about that. Yeah, he let him, like, why are you the one that has to keep it going, right? The right guy is gonna want to like meet you there. Wow, so good. I love that. Okay, let's see. Say it again. Expectations are our desire. Oh, expectations are your, this is my opinion. I don't know if you agree with this. Expectations are your desire merged with your beliefs about what's possible for you, right? So I always say you always get what you expect 100% of the time. If, I used to be walking around with this basically wearing a sign that says disappoint me. I expected to be disappointed and abandoned by men. This was like 10 years ago before I knew anything, right? Like, just please disappoint me. Like, don't give it to me. Yeah, like that's what I expected, right? So like I was walking around attracting that because deep down, that's what I didn't have a framework in my brain for anything different yet. So okay. Oh, thank you guys so much. You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Yes. He's so humble too. He's like the most humble. He's so smart. He's like has so much going on, and he's like the most humble, modest person. It's so funny.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Investment is invoking a deep want, putting all your desire in the love you deserve. Yeah. Love that. Okay. So good. Ginny asks, where do I meet a high quality man? This is a question I get all the time, Chelsea. I don't know if Jonathan's still watching, but I think we were talking about that. We went for a walk at the beach with a few friends the other day, and I think he said he created a video or did a podcast on that. You might want to check that out. But Chelsea, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, I get this all the time.
My answer might be a little unconventional, but you ultimately, like, I met my high quality man in a village of 106 people in the middle of nowhere, halfway across the world from where I live and grew up. And so I think that might not be the best question, or not that it's not a good question, but there's a level of like, when you do the work that we're talking about, you won't need to ask, because ultimately you could meet him anywhere. And of course you could try dating sites, you could do online dating, all these things. You could try to solve that logically, but there's a level of like, you're not in control of where you're going to meet him. And I think that it can cause us so much discomfort when we're trying to figure that out. Like the figuring it out energy is what creates so much resistance. Does that make sense?
So true. Yeah. I mean, similar. I've been getting asked like, oh, well, what app did you meet on? Like, that's probably the number one question. And it's like, I'm like happy to share that, but it's the mindset I talked about, I think, is so infinitely more important than the specific, avenue.
It could be anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that this is going to happen quickly. This is going to be so fun, so easy. I bet a lot of people aren't telling themselves that about online dating.
No, they're not.
That, right? This is going to be the funnest, easiest, fastest thing ever. I didn't say I will meet the guy in 24 hours. No, I didn't put, like you said, I wasn't attached to a time frame. I just, even though that's what happened, I just said, this is going to be so fast, so easy. I'm so excited. I can't wait for this. And I waited till I truly believed that. Then I took that inspired action when the intuition hit. So yes, don't tell me good stories. I love that. Yes, Lisa. Awesome. It's so funny. The chat shifted from at the top where people complaining, and now it's like, I feel like everyone's vibe is like shifting. It's like so awesome. I love that. Okay. Let's see. Projecting your fears onto someone else will cause them to fulfill those fears. I think, I think there's definitely some truth to that for sure. Okay. Is it okay to tell a high quality man you're not 100% certain about him?
I did that.
Oh, did you? Oh my gosh.
I basically made all the mistakes. In addition to doing everything right, I feel like I did so many things wrong. And that just stacks even more evidence in the direction of like, you can't miss your guy. Like I don't think you can ruin who you're meant to be with. So I know that can be contradicting a little bit from what we're saying, but having that level of like self-love and permission to like be imperfect takes the pressure off of you thinking that you're going to ruin this, or you're going to like push him away. It's like, it quiets those noises. Cause when Greg and I were reunited, we were long distance for a few months, and then he came here, and I had so much fear come up because at the time I was only 22, by the way. And I knew we were going to get married really soon. So I had like a whole slight meltdown, and I was like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have come here. And again, the right guy is going to be, I'm not saying that might not hurt his feelings, but for me, he was just like super understanding and gave me space and supported me as I went through that. And then came home to like my truth, which was I was certain. So that was my experience. And it's okay if you're not certain too. If you really aren't. For me, it was just fear coming up. But if you're really not certain, I would just be patient with yourself and know that this guy isn't going to pressure you, because that pressuring energy is not the high quality energy.
Right. Mm-hmm. I like that. I totally agree. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I wish you guys could have seen all my like freaking like, I mean, it's just like we all, it's not about being perfect. It's not about never saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. It's just, but once you, so don't beat yourself up if you've already done that. If you haven't and you're wondering if you should, I would ask yourself, what are you hoping will happen? Are you hoping strongly for some kind of result? Like if this is your guy and you're going to say that because you're going to try and make him work harder or make him put more effort in or make him propose or make him do something, I would say that's a clue to not do that. Lean back, connect with your desire, right? Like, yeah. So don't, if you're doing anything to try to make a man do what you want or make something happen, you're coming from that results-oriented kind of masculine energy, controlling the outcome, trying to control the outcome kind of place. So that's a clue to reel it back in. So hopefully that was helpful. Yeah. Okay. Love this. How do you know the difference between leaning forward and putting your dreams into reality? I think this would be a good question for you, Chelsea. Like, I guess it was sort of what I was talking about. Are you trying to make something happen, or are you connected to your desire, connected to your heart, and then this impulse occurs to you?
Exactly.
And you're responding to your impulse. Responding is a feminine energy quality, in my opinion, right? My experience. If you're responding to an impulse, that's putting your dreams into reality. If you're forcing your way, trying to push and shove and try and like force the outcome you want, I mean, I can feel the difference there. Chelsea, can you, or did I explain that right?
That's exactly what I would say. I think you described it perfectly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other thoughts there?
Yeah, well, one makes you feel bad and one makes you feel good. So if you're ever wondering where you are in that spectrum, you can just tune in. And this is why this, the inner work is so important. Like like being connected to your feelings and your thought process, having this awareness is what I really teach women to master, because everything comes from inside, right? Everything we're doing and experiencing out here comes from inside. So when you're leaning forward, in other words, like you're coming from fear or force or control, it doesn't feel good, right? Because you're out of alignment, so to speak. And when you're in that flow state where you're just taking inspired action, you're just following those impulses, it's fun, it's playful, you feel good. And so that's one of the simple principles I teach every woman that I work with in whatever area of life she's working on, is like, notice how I'm feeling. I know you're so into this, Lena. And like feeling good means like I'm in flow and I know I'm not in contraction. I know I'm not in resistance right now. I know I'm not leaning forward in this case.
Yeah. So important. So important. Great question from Kavita. How do I know the guy is a high quality value, like a high value, high quality man? I think I just actually did a live stream with my partner Tom. It was the last video I posted. I think it's called 5 Things a Man Will Do When He is Emotionally Attracted and Wants a Relationship. And we kind of outlined, if you want like a list of 5 things, it's basically, I mean, from my opinion, Chelsea, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but his energy is coming towards you. You feel good about yourself when you're with him. So forget about how you feel about him. How do you feel about yourself? Do you feel comfortable, or are you constantly anxious and insecure and trying to control things, right? That's something to pay attention to, both when he's right in front of you and when he's not right in front of you. You should feel comfortable and good in both of those instances, right? So it's kind of taking your focus off of him, putting it on yourself. He's follows through, he's reliable, he's dependable, he moves things forward, he progresses the relationship. That's signs that he's also interested in you, right? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Chelsea.
I love that. Yeah, everything that you said, really. I'm trying to add to that, but I feel like you covered it. Yeah, and I would say be on the lookout for those traits that she just described, because you'll start to see, and it might come in a surprising way, like, oh, I didn't realize like someone like that would be a high quality man, It's like when you're coming from a place of not knowing what high quality men look like or how they act because you haven't experienced it very much, you can start to think that they just aren't out there. So take these tips and like the way we're both describing our men and look for it, because then you'll just observing men that have those traits, you'll start to really get like, oh, this is different. And maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's someone you're not romantically interested in at all, but you start to notice, wow, like I feel safe with this person. I can trust them. They show me how that they respect me through their actions. I think that's part of it too. It's like not what they say, but what they do. I know it's so cliche. We've heard it so many times, but I think that really plays into the high quality man, is he's not all talk. Like he shows up and
so true. Yes. Their actions.
Love that.
So true. So, so true. I love it. Let's see. I love everyone helping each other out in the chat. I always talk to the guy on the phone before I agree to meet him. Yeah, that's definitely something I did as well. I totally agree with that. Okay, let's see. Oh, love this. Energy is so feminine and powerful. I love that. This is so much fun. I love that. Okay, is following your impulses equivalent to intuition? Chelsea, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
To me, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing to me. That's my short answer. What about you, Helena?
Mhm. Yeah. I think you might get an intuitive hit and then you follow that impulse. So one is
Yeah.
like the feeling you have, and then the following your impulse is what you do about it, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, let's see. Love this. Do things you enjoy. That joy will attract your tribe and or significant other. Yeah, I think Chelsea was totally talking about that, right?
Yeah.
Um, love that. Okay, yeah. I'm not reading these until I pop them on the screen because for some reason it's really small today and it's hard to read. Please share how and where you found a therapist. That was a good match. Oh, yeah. You can email me and I'll tell you exactly what I did. Or you can go to the community post on my channel right now. I worked with a therapist through a company called BetterHelp for several months. He was amazing. Oh my gosh, life-changing. I healed so much stuff in me that I didn't even know was there. And then I 4 days later, after our first session, 4 days later, I had this impulse to join online dating, right? 11 days later, we met. I'd had 2 more sessions with him in between that time. So I really was starting to feel like myself, and everything changed. I just had to get that support I needed. So if you're looking for a psychologist or therapist, totally, I'll include a link to that if anyone's interested. If you've kind of done that work, you're looking for coaching and some of these mindset shifts, I would say work with Chelsea. Click the link in the description, book a call with Chelsea, because she's been incredibly helpful for me personally. Any client I've had that's also worked with you has said so many amazing things about you. So yeah.
Thank you. I can't wait to connect with all of you watching.
Yes. You guys helped me so much finding love. Yes. Oh my gosh. Aww. You're so welcome. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. The intention behind is everything. People will feel your authenticity. Nothing good comes out of force. Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. I can see the difference in you from older videos. You're always lovely. You definitely have a certain something. Oh yeah. I mean, I really credit it to getting that support I needed, healing, the self-love. I mean, I credit everything to that. Everything. You guys know, I was dealing with some injuries, having a hard time walking, I got depressed because of that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like you guys see me in all my states. You see me when I'm depressed. You see me when I'm happy, when I'm irritable, bloated, feeling good, bloated, face is breaking out. I feel like you guys see all my different sides. It's such a funny thing. It's such a funny thing. Okay, trust and bond are so important. Yes, totally agree. I'm just making sure we got to all these questions. Yeah, when the guy is right, it's easy, don't you think?
Yes.
Okay, let's see.
The easy. Doesn't mean you won't have stuff to work on together.
Oh, that's true.
Because that was a fun, magical story. And then shit kind of got real in our first year of marriage, but we were both super willing to do it. And we both had stuff to work through. And that's the next level of this is you can be imperfect, and with the right person, and if you're both committed, you'll get through anything is what I'm realizing.
So yeah. We mentioned that in the live stream we did just a few days ago with Tom. Was with a soul level connection, oh my gosh, stuff comes up to heal, stuff from your childhood. And it's kind of that's why you attract a life partner, to work out all that stuff that wasn't healed from childhood. It's not always fun and easy, but if you communicate well and stay open to each other, and you don't shut down, oh my gosh, the healing that can take place is amazing. But it's not always 100%. Fun to feel all that stuff you've been holding on to for your entire life, basically, right?
Yeah, and a high quality man, this is something that I had to break through because I watched my mom struggle with this with her relationships, but a high quality man will want to do that work with you. And you won't have to push him to or force him to. He'll be willing to be vulnerable in that way.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh, so many comments just jumped up. I've lost my place. Sorry. Okay, let's see. I hope I don't skip anything. If we skipped anything, put it down in the comments below. Sometimes when so many come through at once, everything jumps up. So let's see. Now it's delayed. Someone asked if I can type my email in the description. Yes, I can. I'll put my email in the description. Chelsea's info is all there too. Okay. Me and my boyfriend are constantly arguing now. Can't seem to get past things that we said in past fights. I've tried telling him it hurts when he says mean things to me. Then he brings up old issues. Any thoughts for someone having a hard time in a relationship, Chelsea?
Let me feel into that. One thing that I think is a great tip is like when we're triggered, and by triggered, I mean like there's like not a, it's a feeling of being, I don't mean to discount the feelings, but it's kind of an irrational state of being. Like we're so triggered, we can't have a healthy like conversation when we're in that triggered space. So an agreement that my husband and I have is like when we have an argument or one of us slips up and triggers the other person on accident, and then we're both triggered. Usually we're both triggered, right? That's how it usually happens in relationships. We take time to cool off and we take space to like self-soothe. And this is something I also talk about, like self-sourcing. So giving myself what I need, what I was wanting from him that I didn't get, and vice versa. Like we go in and we take care of ourselves and we get to a place where we know we're both emotionally available. And in my relationship, the dynamic is like to keep the polarity. I wait to hear when he's ready to have the conversation because I'm always like, let's talk now. And that's a respect that I have had to learn how to do with him is I ask him like, can we have a conversation about what happened? And he says, yes, at this time. And then that's the moment where we both practice like active listening. And we'll actually, this is a conflict resolution little practice I'll recommend. It's from the book, Getting the Love You Want. There's 4 steps to it. This like saved us in our first year when we were going through, all the stuff. It's like a mirroring technique. You empathize with each other and then you both get to make requests, and having someone else's kind of like system for moving through conflict, rather than me telling him what I think we should do or vice versa, was so helpful. And to this day, in our, like after 5 years of being married, we'll still use that, where we'll be like, okay, I heard you say that when I did this, you felt like this, and so this is the work, like you're not alone in having these kinds of situations. Like if it's a soulmate love, these things are going to come up and it's healthy and it's okay. But having the tools to support each other through that, I think is really, really helpful.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There's like so many comments I want to put up. There's so many questions. I know we're at the top of the hour. We said we're going to be here for 30 minutes and it's literally double that. That always happens. So I'll just pick like 1 or 2 more questions. Is that okay, Chelsea? Sorry, I didn't even ask you if it's okay.
No,
we're so over.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
I'm so happy to be here.
Okay, good. Yeah. Kristen says, I was able to tell my ex this week I'm moving on because of what I've learned from your videos. I feel so much better. I was able to tell him how I truly feel. Oh my gosh. So happy.
Good job.
Kind of in line with this question, how do you know it's time to let go of a lover or a friend? Yeah, I would say if, do these 5 steps, basically align back with yourself, and then the right people kind of fall away, or the choice becomes so obvious, like nothing can stop you from making it. Align back to yourself, your own heart, your own feminine energy, if you want to call it that, your own desires. The right people for you will come towards you and they'll stick, they'll stay. The wrong people won't. The wrong people will fade away. And you don't have to micromanage it. You don't have to I used to feel like an octopus, like with 8 arms in every situation, trying to manage everything, manage how this guy saw me, about what this person thought. And you don't have to do any of that. You can just fall in love with the chaos, align back with yourself, and just trust that the right, you'll know when it's the right time to go. It's like nothing will be able to stop you. If you're asking this question, should I stay? Should I go? It's just a lot of split energy. It might not be time to make that decision yet. Or deep down, you might really know, I've been holding on to this and it's time to go, right?
Totally. I love that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add there? That was just my initial thoughts.
I was going to say, if you're asking that question, I think just the fact that you're asking that question, sometimes we're saying the answer in the question. But again, I don't know anything, but I'm maybe sensing intuitively, like if you're asking that question, something's off. And maybe it's not that you're letting them go forever, but maybe you're letting go of this rendition of the relationship. you know?
Wow. Oh, I love that.
Okay,
Letting go
cool.
of this rendition of the relation. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Cool.
We got to do a whole video just
Yeah,
on
I'm like,
that.
that was deep. I could unpack that. Yeah.
It's doing that thing where it's delaying again, but
Okay.
I just wanted to put this comment up. Maybe it'll, I don't know. Somebody said that we've inspired them to start dating again. You're very welcome.
Yay!
Ah, there it is. Everything's just a little bit delayed today. Okay. Okay, let's see. You are so welcome. Is there any, well, this will just be the last one. Is there any hope after being ghosted by who you thought was your soulmate? I don't know how to cope with or deal with being ghosted. I would say the right guy isn't going to ghost you. I know in Chelsea's situation, there was a 2-year gap because she had to go back to school, right? And you guys like kind of stayed friends, and then you met up, you kind of let it go and then met up again 2 years later, right? But during that time, I know you dated, you grew up a lot, right? I believe that's what you said.
Yeah.
Any thoughts here?
I think, yeah. I mean, if you jumped in later, I feel like we talked so much about that too. So if you haven't watched the whole thing, I think it'll help you so much with this, because a high quality man, like your actual soulmate, won't ghost you. You will never have to be in that space of wondering where you stand with him. If he values you enough, if he loves you, if he's committed, they will make all of that super clear. And so I know that's painful when you want it to be that person. So like, be gentle with yourself, but also know that's what you get to have. And so like, elevate your standards in that way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I said that was the last one. Last one, because a lot of people saying, it's different when you're older. It's different.
Let's
so
talk
I want to,
about
I
that.
want to talk about so I just had one of my most recent, I know I don't do too much private coaching anymore, but one that really stands out recent in my head, she was like, she was very successful in her, I believe, late 60s. She was a grandmother, lived in Byron Bay, Australia. I won't give out too much identifying information, but she was amazing. I loved her so much. She kept, it's the story you're telling. She came to me, she was attracting men who would kind of target, wealthy women and try and like get money from them and stuff through online dating. And she's like, we worked together, and she totally shifted everything. She's like, I want to meet somebody not from around here, because I feel like this is a small town. I want to meet somebody totally different. That's how it's going to happen. She met this guy, also really, really successful, high quality, masculine guy. He moved there. They got married, I believe, I don't know, 9-10 months later, within a year. And she sent me photos. It's so beautiful. And she was like late 60s. And that's just one, I've worked with women in their 70s that have phenomenal love lives, meeting all kinds of men based on the story they're telling. So I just have and I also worked with women who are younger who are having a really hard time based on the story they're telling. There's like obviously a lot more that goes into it. It's like working from the inside out and the outside in, but I just have so many examples. Maybe I should bring someone on who's kind of gone through this, because it's easy to, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're saying it's going to be hard, you're going to like attract men and experiences and situations that confirm what you're telling yourself. So you're going to prove yourself right either way. So my question would be, what do you want proven right? You're going to be right. So what is it that you want to prove right to yourself? I don't even know if that made sense, but that's what I would say.
100%, 100%. And it's never too late. Like it just is never too late. And I would say, look for evidence that it's possible, because if you have a lot of fear and a lot of limiting beliefs stacked against you, against what you want, then you get to make it your number one job to stack all this evidence in favor of what you do want. So like finding people who have that story, and like reading books where it's about that, like just immerse yourself in people's experiences who have what you want. It's so helpful. It's like so simple, but so powerful.
I know. So true. So true. And people ask me about, long distance relationship. I know you and your husband were long distance just for a little bit before he moved to the US, right? So I would suggest booking a call with Chelsea. Book your free discovery call if you're in a situation where, because, every situation, especially long distance, I found there's different dynamics. Like, there's just so many different dynamics.
We did something cute. Can I add something really quick?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to hear.
I actually look, because I know long distance can suck and be really difficult, but I actually look back to our long distance time. We had 4 months in a committed relationship, long distance. I look back to it with nostalgia because, we would have a daily hour-long like Skype session, And it was such a time of like total presence and intimacy. And this was like a daily ritual. And funny enough, like we've had to work to create that in our lives now when we're together way more often, obviously, and like living in the same house together. So there's things that you can create in long distance that are actually really special that, anyway, so yeah, I would love to help you shift that.
Yeah.
If anyone's struggling with that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, love that. Yeah, I don't really have any experience with that at all. So I love referring people to people who have been through it, lived through it, and now you guys have just celebrated your 5-year wedding anniversary. So happy. This is great. You guys are so sweet. Oh my gosh, I'm loving these comments. I'm so glad this was helpful. Would you like? I know everyone's gonna want you to come back on, but give us some topic suggestions down in the comments. Sorry, there's this delay. I hope it didn't come across as too strange, but I hope this was helpful.
I never saw the delay. I hope.
Okay, yeah, hopefully it's just on my end. Same thing happened during my last live stream, so it might be the internet here or something. But okay, does Chelsea have a YouTube channel? Yes, you do, don't you?
Yes. Subscribe, please.
Yeah.
Trying to build it up now.
If you missed any of your questions, go ahead and ask them down below after this post. I know Chelsea's so great at answering questions, and you can go over to her channel. I would definitely do that. Also, I know you have a great Facebook group, and I'll just include all your information in the description after this post. So,
perfect.
yeah. Anything else you want to say before we close out? I know we're even over the hour mark now.
I think just one final thing is like you get to have the epic love that you want. And if you don't have the faith in that, lean on my faith, lean on our faith, that you get to have that. So I wanted to end on that positive note. And thank you so much for having me. I love hanging out with you. I love everyone who shows up on these live streams. So thanks for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thanks
for good questions
and staying all the way till the end. Oh my gosh, till close to 200 people watching live all the way. I love hanging out with you guys and answering your questions. I feel like this was like a vibe shifting session. I would love to do more of those with you because this is so much fun. So let us know what other videos you'd like to see from us. Any questions you have for either of us, let us know down below in the comments. And we love you guys so much. I could just sit here and read the comments forever. So I'll go ahead and close out. Have a great weekend, everybody. Chelsea, thank you so much. Love you. You're so amazing. Your spirit is so like beautiful. I just love sharing you with my audience. So this was so fun.
Ditto. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next time. Have a great rest of the day.